Hello, welcome back to the channel. So, with the announcement of buffs in 3.4, I've been kind of looking back at a lot of the older characters' kits, specifically most of the ones from 1.0, and realizing just how awful a lot of the older kits' design is. It's seeing that a lot of the older characters have a lot of design problems that just numbers won't really fix. Like, let's start with probably the most obvious one. A lot of the older characters' traces just kind of suck. So many of them have defensive traces for no reason. And like, not even like a good kind of defensive trace, since not every trace has to be like just for damage. Like my day, for example, his A4 is just that it makes him immune to crowd control, which is very good for what he wants to do, which is just to attack non-stop, and also makes sense for him since you can't actually control him. The problem with a lot of these older ones is that they just don't really fit into what the character wants to do. Like Sealy as an example, her A2 is when she's at 50% HP or lower, she is less likely to be attacked by enemies. Like, why? Just because she can go invisible from her technique? Like, even if you get to 50% HP, you are never gonna want to just, like, stay low for, like, the small chance that you just won't get hit. So, like, you aren't even gonna have the effect, like, half the time. And even then, being less likely to be attacked is just kind of useless. Because most of the time, you could just get hit anyway, or you're just gonna get hit by an AoE attack. Not to mention her A6 also isn't that great, because you almost never really want to basic attack with her. So I feel like it would make more sense for it to be her skill instead of her basic attack, but that's for something. I'll talk about that later. And not even just like launch characters, a lot of like characters throughout 1.0 have this. Like Embobber Lune has this with his A4. Jing Liu also has this with her A4. Like a lot of old characters already have like low damage numbers, but having a trace that just does nothing on top of that really doesn't help their case. Like, to be honest, I don't think that most of these characters that have these traces really need them, especially like the DPS characters. Like, it really does feel like for half of these they just didn't really know what to do, so they were just like, oh, let's just give them a random defensive trait, forgetting that, you know, you're most of the time you're just gonna have a sustain on your team, so you don't really need that kind of effect on a DPS, you know? Another problem with a lot of them is having restrictions in their kit where I don't really feel like they need them anymore, especially with the power level of level out of the newer characters. Like Yanqing is probably the most obvious example of this, where like if he takes damage at all, he loses the Soul Steel Sync state, which means that you basically have to play him with a shielder or just get lucky, because being less likely to be attacked, like I said before, is probably like one of the worst stats in the game, and it's just not gonna do anything. Like having it deactivate if you get hit at all just feels way too punishing. Like yeah, maybe you could have it be like it only activates when he's at like 50% HP, but even then, like, it already only activates for like one turn, so you already have to constantly skill in order to keep it up. Like, does it really need a restriction on top of that? Like, he doesn't even have that good of damage to like justify it, you know? To me, I do think that Silly is kind of another example of this. Like, I do think that she could get a turn every time she kills an enemy, and it would be fine. Maybe just make it so that the buff can't like stack, because if she got like an 80% damage buff every time she kills an enemy, and it could stack, then yeah, it might actually just be broken. Or maybe just make it so that like the buff resets whenever she kills an enemy, so she just gets resurgence whenever she kills an enemy, but it just doesn't stack. You know, I think that maybe that could be fine, and it would make her better against like bosses that summon a bunch of ads, so it would give her like a bit more of a place in the game. Which leads me into like, I think the main problem with a lot of the older characters is a lot of them just don't really have anything that makes them stand out, or they just don't really have a place in the game right now. Because a lot of them I think were just designed to be just kind of generically good and to just kind of fit into like any team, which doesn't really fit how sort of like archetype or like team centric the game is now. Like, and like, I mean, even for like a lot of the newer characters, like they don't really have like archetypes, but you still want to run them with like specific characters, you know? Like, you know, Castress as an example, you mainly want to run her with like Robonert's MC and like some sort of like character that can heal a lot, you know? I do think this is especially true for a lot of the 4 stars. I feel like most of the 5 stars at least have like something, even if they aren't like that good. But a lot of the 4 stars just really just feel underwhelming, and like they just don't really do anything special. Like Sampo just kind of applies wind shear, and that's it. Natasha just kind of heals, and that's it. Like even most of the 4 stars like post-launch at least have like something. Like Lynx makes you more likely to be attacked by enemies. Shui is like a mix between a break and a follow-up character, but most of the launch ones just don't really have that. I mean, even some of the post-launch ones also kind of have this problem, like Gwenifan, who's just kind of you know? Because, I mean, the reason I think this is because the ones that are good are the ones that have something unique about them. Like Pella is like the only character that has that amount of like AoE defense shred, and Tingyun is like the only Harmony character besides Sunday that can give energy. So she's a good option if you don't have Sunday or for like, you know, specific teams. I really hope that when they do the buffs, they don't just increase the numbers and that's it. Because while I do think that numbers is part of it, because a lot of the newer characters just have higher scalings than a lot of the older characters, but at the same time I don't really want them to just do like number creep either, because that's a discussion for a whole other video. A lot of them just have inherent problems with the kits themselves that need to be changed, or else the buffs probably will just not do anything, especially since like I said, if it's just number changes, they will probably just fall off again anyway as better characters start coming out. And if the HP of the enemies keeps going up like it's been doing, they will just fall off again anyway. I don't know, I just really hope that when they do the buffs, they actually change them. Like, I hope that like with Silverwolf, they give her some sort of like AoE or something, or maybe with like Blade, like a more unique place besides just like doing what My Day does, but just kind of worse. I don't know, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below, like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.